Delighted to welcome back to the show the star of the sensational 60s Experience, coming to Chelmsford Civic Theatre on Thursday, October the 25th. From The Searchers, Mike Pender. Mike, welcome back, mate. How have you been?
I've been fine, actually.
It's lovely to have you
I'm sitting here in the studio, waiting to chat away.
Oh, lovely. It's lovely to have you back on, mate. And we got so much great feedback the last time you were on. We were having a good old reminisce. You were pulling up a sandbag with me and we were chatting about those songs.
Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Reminiscing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a walk down memory lane.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, some of the classics, and we still play them to this day, of course, we're going to be hearing on stage as well. And let's go through the lineup, because I mentioned there that you're headlining alongside some great friends as well. Tell me more about what's on the bill.
Well, we've got Chris Farlow, of course, still a fabulous singer after all these years. We've got Herman Sermitz, of course, a household name, not only in the UK, but in America and all over the world, really. I think most of us are sort of household names everywhere you go in the world. They've always, they remember the records, don't they?
Yes.
I think, if they've forgotten the name of the group, they'll remember the title of the record.
Yes.
We've also got Swing and Blue Jeans, and who else? They've got that many artists on, I've forgotten them all.
Well, that'll do for starters. That's not a bad little lineup there.
I've just thought of it. Yeah, the Foremost. I've not seen them in years.
Do you know, I love Hello Little Girl. I love that song.
Well, I mean, yeah. The thing about the 60s is that some of the songs stand the test of time. Not all of them, but some of them do. And I think we've had one or two that stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And I can only go by audience reaction, of course, on the show when they listen to songs like Needles and Pins or When You Walk in the Room, which was probably my favourite.
Yeah, I love When You Walk in the Room. There's something about that intro, because the intro on When You Walk in the Room is really quite simple, isn't it? It's that dum, 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 and you're off and running, and then there's that great guitar riff.
Thank you very much. It's quite simple. No, yeah, it's a nice guitar riff, actually,
Yeah.
and it sounds great on the 12-string.
Yeah.
It has to be a 12-stringer, actually. I remember when we heard the demo of it, and it was played on a 6-string, and it sounded like Dwayne Eddy playing it or someone like that, But yes, it's a good intro on that song.
Yeah, because it starts, it's like dum, dum, and then it hits into the guitar, doesn't it?
Yeah. Of course, if you remember Crossroads, it's a very similar, similar.
That's a good point. Dum, I say dum, 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 dum,
Yeah.
dum.
Well, that's right, and of course we know who wrote the theme tune for Crossroads, Mr. Tony Hatch, who was our record producer. Ah, come on!
I wonder why that. You see, the connection is made already, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, having worked with Tony Hatch at the time, I mean, blimey, the stuff that guy's been involved with over the years, and the hits that he was a hit machine at one point, wasn't he?
Tony, absolutely. I mean, it was just great that he was there at the time at Buy Records. When we actually were introduced to the recording game.
Yeah.
And I always remember one of the artists he had a lot of success with was Petulia Clark, of course.
Yes, of course.
And Petulia Clark, believe me, still sounds fantastic. I was in America about 5-6 weeks ago, did a big concert in New York, and Pet Clark was on the bill, actually.
Yeah.
I never realised how old she was. Do you know how old Pet Clark is?
I don't like saying a lady's age, but I'm gonna guess.
She's getting on a bit, actually.
But she can't be far off. She must be mid-70s, possibly.
Mid-80s.
No, really? Wow.
And I couldn't believe it.
No.
She looks absolutely fabulous. She sounds fantastic. So I've still got 5 years to go.
I was going to say, you're a spring chicken in comparison.
Yeah, I've still got 5 years left, yeah. No, believe me, she was absolutely fabulous.
Do you know, thinking about...
that just goes to show you, doesn't it, that, age is just a number, really.
Absolutely. And I would imagine as well, talking about the concerts, because you do play all over the world, Mike, and I just wondered, when you're singing these songs, you're looking out into the audience, are you seeing new adopters to the music, people that have inherited them from their grandparents, that kind of thing?
Well, I suppose I am, but you don't realise it until you get out to the foyer after the show, and you meet all these people who are waiting to speak to you, to have a photograph taken with you, because that's the difference today. In the '60s, the audience couldn't get near you. You sort of hustled out of the theatre to the hotel or onto the coach, and you never got a chance to speak with the audience. So that's one of the nice things I enjoy today.
Yeah.
Speaking with the audience after the show, listen to what they've got to say about the show, saying that the songs still sound good. I can't believe that the interest is still there after all these years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because, I mean, you were part of that incredible Merseybeat era, you know, when there were just the thousands of people and it was on top of the pops and it was just everywhere, wasn't it, at that time? And looking back, I mean, you were, you know, a relatively young man back in those days as well. Do you still remember those days pretty well? You know, what it was like to be whisked from venue to venue and to be photographed wherever you went?
Oh, yeah, of course I do. That's the difference today, of course. I mean, I'm talking about coming to do interviews and speaking to people on the phone. Obviously, in the old days, you had personal assistant all the time. He would take care of all the publicity, interviews, everything like that. You didn't have to. All you had to do was go and make records and perform.
Yeah.
Today, it's different. You got to work a bit harder today to get to the audiences. You know, like coming in to do interviews, like being on the telephone for interviews all the time. But you know, it's part and parcel of the game. You have to do it.
Yeah.
But back in the old days, of course, if you were successful and you had hit records, you had 2 or 3 number ones, which we were very lucky to have. The record company they worked you all over the world. They want to sell your records. It's a business, isn't it? Like anything else. And I can always remember going to America for the first time, which is probably one of the standout things for me today when I think back. Appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show. I mean, we've talked about this before, but that was the show in the '60s to get on. If you wanted to break America, you had to do the Ed Sullivan Show, and we did it. And I think the song we did was Needles and Pins.
Yeah. And looking back, I mean, that we're going back a little way there, but it's funny now how you get new acts these days, and you say they work very hard, and but it's unusual, isn't it, to have that longevity. The fact that, on and off, you have been pretty much there touring, singing these songs for a good long time now, and you're still doing it. What is your secret to keeping your energy levels up, Mike? That's what I want to know, and keeping your enthusiasm at the peak it is.
Well, yeah, I suppose, people outside the business, they obviously look at it all as guys. Every year we turn up at some theatre in the local town. I think, I think you hit the nail on the head there. You've got to have the energy. That's for sure. And obviously you've got to still sound pretty good, because the audience reaction will always tell you how good the show is. I mean, myself, I don't do anything particular really to keep myself sort of fit or anything. What I do pace myself through the year. I don't work too hard. I mean, for instance, this tour, which starts in October 5 or October 6, I think, goes through to the end of the year and then picks up again in February, carries on until April. So there's a lot of gigs. And a lot of people will say, wow, how do you manage to do all that? Because there's a lot of travelling involved, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. I mean, I'm so used to it now, travelling round. I have a good time. Good to see old friends on the tour again. We have a good laugh. And, these days, you can please yourself what you do. You can stay in any hotel you want to. You can have a good time. And, of course, once the tour is over, I go off on holiday. My wife and I take off somewhere like Malta or Tenerife or whatever, have a month's holiday. So it's almost semi-retirement, really.
Yeah.
And you haven't got that sort of record company thing whereby you've got to be here in the studio 3 weeks to do another album or whatever. You haven't got that anymore.
Yeah.
Even though after all this time, we still get record royalties, unbelievably.
Does the check still comes through the door from time to time, does it? And you go,
amazing.
I'd forgotten about that one.
No, not checks anymore. Online banking, mate, online banking.
Do you remember the first check that you got as a professional musician? Because I talk to a lot of musicians on the show, and quite a lot of them, actually, when they get their first one, they actually frame it. Those that can afford not to have checked.
I was just going to say... I framed it. I think it was about £36.50 or something like that.
Because it's a moment. I mean, let's be for a young musician as well. You know, to get paid all of a sudden. You know, you're professional, aren't you? A professional musician, and
Well, of course.
yeah, it's
But
amazing.
Don't forget, in those days, that you never seen the money.
Yeah,
It was years before we realised what was going on. I mean, you're so tied up being on TV, being in the newspapers, being in the recording studio, having #1 hits, going to America, going to Australia. You're so sort of into all that, you don't get time to think about money. And what they did, or what they did for us, as I remember, in those early 60 years, they just put a wage into your account. I think in 1963, they were putting something like £250 into your account, which was a fortune then, a week.
yeah. Wow.
So you knew that you were comfortable.
Yeah.
And of course, if you wanted to go and buy a car, the management would say, well, go and see the accountant, tell him what you want, and they'd organise to go to the car showroom, pick it up. That's the way you did it. Absolutely. Everything was done for you.
Oh, Mike, I could talk to you all day, mate. It's been lovely having you on the show again, buddy. You must come back on any time. And in the meantime, we're really looking forward to seeing you at the Chelmsford Civic Theatre on Thursday, October the 25th, 7:30 start. Tickets are available right now. Don't miss it. Mike Pender from The Searchers and plenty more as well. Chris Farlow, Herman's Hermits, The Foremost, and many more. It's going to be a great night down there as well. And always great to have Mike on the show with us in the afternoons. It's BBC Essex.